Good day, everybody. Welcome back to the flight deck. We are back on our helicopter tour of the Great Lakes, flying the CH-47D, the mighty Chinook helicopter. Once again, if you hear noise in the background, they're doing construction in the unit above me. I think they're replacing part of the floor, so there could be banging and other sounds coming through. Just have to ignore that, put up with that. And again, Molly, the noises do kind of get her a little bit, and she starts barking, so we'll have to put up with that. But today we're in Bad Axe up in Michigan. We're going to finish flying down along Lake Huron, and then once at the bottom of Lake Huron, we're going to cross over into Canada, and we're going to land in Sarnia at the airport there, at which point we'll take off again out of Sarnia, and we are going to be flying straight across the bottom of Ontario and across the town of London, and we're going to head over to Welland, Ontario, which is just before the U.S. border again, where it crosses over into New York State, around the Buffalo, New York area. Not a good idea to turn the fans off. No, it's not. You want to see a pilot of a helicopter sweat? Turn off the big fans above them. All right, so we're going to hop on board. We are flying with cargo today. We have on board, let's see if we can look the other way. There we go. We got a Humvee in the back. We're going to be taking this Humvee with us, so when we get to where we're going, we've got some wheels for the trip. So that's going to add a little bit of weight in the back of the helicopter, and should provide some a little bit of balance and make it a little bit more interesting to fly. Anyway, we'll come down here. We'll tell the flight engineer get the pitot covers off, and that's all good. Our fuel is set. We're at about 85% fuel and good there. So we're ready to go through our procedure for prepping for our startup. So let's come up top, and we'll come up to the overhead panel, and we'll work our way down. So the EPIS doors and fans are all closed. External lighting, we're going to start bringing up the lights just up to where it says dim to provide a little bit of illumination. So position lights are good. Anti-collision lights top and bottom are going to come down. Co-pilot searchlight control is going to stay on the off position, as we're not going to be using the searchlight. I'll get these dials up as well. We'll come down. Compass is going to stay free. Heater will remain off. Blowers and fans are all good. Wipers are off. Batteries are off. APU and generators are all off. Coming up here to the center portion of the panel, we'll lean back slightly just so we don't trigger the toolbar. There's the stick and position indicator lights are on. Crossfeed, fuels and refueling station pumps are all closed. Engine condition levers are all in stop. Moving down to the bottom, FADEC is set 100%. The rev pry are in pry mode. Backup power for the FADEC is off. Overspeed is set to neutral, and load sharing is set to torque. Again, moving up top here, we have the emergency exit lights are now armed. Dome lights are off. Floodlights are off. We'll turn the lights here up to bright. Pilot searchlight controls are off. We'll come up on the pilot instrument lights, just bring them up to dim. Anti-ice is all off. Hoist is set to tandem, and all the emergency cuts and stuff are guarded, and everything else is switched off. Hydraulic transfers are off. Flight control is set to both, and the power steering is off. Let me just scroll down on the list. So we're going to come down here to the bottom part now. The AFCS system, the autopilot control flight system, is set off, and if we come over here, we can look and see that everything else is off here. For nav, I'm just going to check. There is, let's come over here to Sarnia. No VOR at Sarnia, but there is one at London. We're going to tune in just so we have it in, and that is 1172, and that will give us a little something to fly towards. This isn't turning. I wonder if it wants the aircraft powered up. That's interesting if it does. Everything else is currently off. We'll go to 122.8 on the radios. There we go. Alright, so that's all that done. And we're ready to move on to the next start, which is the power up. So moving back up top again, we're going to turn the battery on. Caution light test will pop down, and I think it's this one. Yep, we'll do the test. There's all our lights are up, and we can see everything coming on there. Back up top, I'm going to turn the APU to run and to start. The APU's winding up. We can hear it in the back there, and the APU is now in run. APU generators are now online. Hydraulic transfer switches are on. Parking brake, we can come down here, confirm that the parking brake is set. FADEC backup power switch is coming on. Condition levers are both in stop. EPIS fans and doors, that's the coolers for the engines, and the transmissions are all on and the doors are open. And troop warning will let them know we're about to start. That's the alarm in the back. So once outside again, the flight engineer would be out front and the loadmaster would be out back, making sure we are good to go. Alright, lights are flashing and we are set. So moving on to engine startup. Left main pumps are coming on. Crossfeed is on. Condition lever 1 is now set to ground. And we're starting engine 1. And we're looking for 10% on the N1 after 45 seconds. We got blades are starting to rotate, engine's coming up. And we're looking at oil pressure to be above 5 psi. Alright, so the engine's coming up nicely. We've got the oil pressure. We're waiting for that 50% N1. 50% N1. There we go. And she's spooling up nicely. So we're going to pop up top again. Condition lever for engine number 2 is going to go into ground. The start will come off. And we're going to start engine 2, and it's 10% on the N1, and then we come up, turn her off again. So come down here. Oh, another thing I always tend to forget, you got to turn those on even though the cross feed is on. So waiting for 10% on the N1. There's 10% on the N1. We'll pop back up top, turn the starter off. Pop back down, we're looking for that 50% and 5%. Well, we got the 5% on the oil pressure. Waiting for that 50% to come up. So we're above 50% and transmission oil pressure is above 7 psi, so that's all good. The engines are up, rotors are all in sync. We can come up. Engine 1 and engine 2 are going to go into flight mode for the condition levers. Generators are now coming on, both sides. APU generator is off. APU is off. There we go. So that is done. So pre-taxi fuel pumps will all come on. So there's the front auxiliaries and rear auxiliaries are on, and everything is up. And for our taxi, we're going to turn on the power steering. You can hear it now sinking in. We're going to turn on swivel for the rear wheels. And with that done, we can come over here. The crew can get on board. And we'll get the ramps up into position here. so that we can taxi out. So basically we're just going to move out this way, just out to this runway here. And we're going to point the other way, and we're just going to take off to the northeast, which is kind of the way the wind is facing. Now we're going to come down here, see if we can get this tuned in once again. Yeah, now it's letting me do it. So that was 1172. So good power had to be on for the aircraft, and we're going to be heading roughly in an eastward direction. So we come over here and we set our course to a roughly 90 degrees. That's the course we'll be heading as we fly towards that VOR. That is all good. For our course out of here, we're going to be heading at about a 150 or so. We'll just whip that around there. Everything else is looking good. We'll just do a final weather check for our barrel and clouds. 3,000 foot scattered clouds, no major weather, and our barrel is 2992, which should be set already. 2992 is set. Alright, so let's get the track IR going, and we are good to come around. So manual brakes are set. Parking brake is released. We're going to add a little bit of power, push forward on the stick, roll the helicopter around that rear set of steering wheels. Ignore the person there. And we'll just head out this way. Again, we're just going to steer the chopper out to the runway. And basically you can do that with just a little bit of power, and by pushing forward you get the rotors pointing downwards and pushing the helicopter along the ground. And as you can see, the rear wheels there are what swivel. Twin engine, twin rotor helicopter. They have not put out the update as of yet, so still waiting on that. Alright. Good. We're going to come out, turn left, and then we will be departing. We're going to fly out to the coast, and then we'll follow the coastal Lake Huron down to the bottom tip where the town of Sarnia is, and we'll cross the border and land at the airport there. It's also named the Chris Hadfield Airport, named after the famous Canadian astronaut. Close enough. We'll bring the collective down on the brakes. Let's do our final check. Alright, parking brake lever is off. FCS switch goes to both. Cyclic trip is on auto. Power steering is locked. Come up here, make sure the pump is off, and the transponder, again, it's down here. Turn it to standby. And TARA and we are good. Let's go flying. Hey Willie, how you doing, buddy? Hope everything's well with you. All right, we're gonna climb up to about 1,000 feet. Let our speed start coming up. Again, we're leaving KBAX here and we're heading out towards Michigan, or sorry, Lake Huron, and continuing down the Michigan coast. Turn slightly to the east. There we go. We'll head out towards the lake now. It's 400 feet. The guys can close the doors in the back. We are pretty heavy today. We got the Humvee in the back. Ah, cool. Watch the tower there. Coming up on 600 feet, doing about 150 knots. Yeah, we're going to try to get her to settle at about 1,000 and about 150 knot cruise. There's 900 feet. Get that nose forward a little bit more. Beautiful sights. We got some low cloud today. We're going to get lower cloud as we continue along. It'll be interesting to see what we run into. I'm just going to follow this road out. We're heading towards a little community called Harbor Beach. That's where we'll turn south along the coastline. Zante. Ah, that's cool. Yeah, it's good to get practice in sometimes. Just got a little bit of a kick to the left there. There's Lake Huron ahead. So we're going to just fly straight out. The town of Harbor Beach will be on our left, and as we come up to the shoreline we'll make the turn south and follow it down. Just trying to set up and watch for our speed, trying to keep our movements on the controls minimal. Just had Molly come in and rub against me and then walk out again. Not sure what she's up to. This is very much hands-on flying. Unfortunately, the autopilot is not set up yet in it. So hopefully this week the new version will get released that has able to hold altitude, which will be nice. Get some different views going as we fly along. Looking good. Coming up for that coastline. Slowly start to turn now. There's a little community harbor beach there. Molly, slide down. Slide down for now. And we're basically going to follow the coastline down here to the southern tip of Lake Huron. So today we're only visiting two airports. There's the Sarnia airport, which we're flying to now, and then our destination airport of Welland. That's due to the distances. The Lake to Welland's a rather long one. Alright, so as we're cruising in here, we'll take a quick look at our weather as we come into Sarnia. 292 is good, but we got clouds. A whole bunch of cloud layers. Pretty well, they're all going to be above us, so that's not going to be an issue. And 7-knot winds out of the north. So that's the weather we can expect. Hello, Chris. Alright, let's keep chugging along here. We're just a little bit of back trim now. So there's an airport on the other side of the lake here, over on that side, the Canadian side, at a town called Quadrant. And the runway, when you're taking off to the west, ends right at the water. You basically, the runway goes between some trees and then it ends at the water, and you take off out over the lake. So one time I was flying out of there, and it was VFR conditions, but there was a higher overcast and the sky color and the watercolor matched. So when I took off out of the airport to the west, you know, looked down, got my speed, said, yeah, we're good for rotation, rotated up, made sure everything was good, resumed looking out the front window, and it was just a solid wall of gray, no horizon, which was a little bit disconcerting, and caused a little bit of butt cheek clenching. But put my head back down on instruments, kept the turn going, made a 180-degree turn back towards land so I can get my horizon again. But that was pretty interesting seeing that. So just checking on Molly. She's curled up beside my chair now. Once again, if you're hearing tools and stuff in the background, they're working on the place above me. So it may come through. But given the transmission hum and the props and everything, I don't know how much of it you're going to hear. Alright, we just passed over the town of Fournville. We're heading down towards Richmondville. It's going to be the next little town we come up to. Once again, as we cruise down the U.S. side of Lake Huron here. A very flat farm country. Fuel gauge 5264. There's a little town. Kind of stretches along the coast here on the left side of that road. Coming up ahead is the little town of Forester. Flying over Forester now. Ollie's licking my leg. And when this is all done, we're going to head to the dog park. She heard me talking about that earlier, and she's excited to go. It was her birthday the other day, last Thursday. She turned 1 year old. coming along very nicely. Once we're down in Sarnia, I'll go get her a little treat she can have and occupy herself with. Small towns along the edge of the lake here. Hey Brian, how you doing? Off to another busy week this week for you? Not seeing the far shore coming in yet, but should be coming in soon. We're 28 miles away from the Sarnia airport. Do another outside view here as we chug along. Oh, you're in Montreal? Cool. Coming up to a little town called Lexington. Major road coming in from the right. Start to see the land curving around at the bottom there. That's going to take us down towards Sarnia and the border. That's the Port Huron Sarnia border there, which good place to cross into the US if you're going that way. Down too low. It's another option if you don't want to go through Windsor, Detroit, a little bit further to the north, especially if you're heading up that way to the northern states, Wisconsin, out to towards the Dakotas and stuff like that. There's Lexington coming up, a little bit bigger place, you can see. Screaming up on it at about 800 feet above the ground. Again, we are VFR flying here, so altitude holding doesn't have to be precise. It helps, but it doesn't have to be precise. So we got a couple towers coming up. Just gonna keep an eye on them. They're on the east side of the road there. Sorry, west side of the road. Keep an eye out for them. And we're going to keep following the land as it starts to move around to the bottom part of the lake here. See those towers. Sometimes they're good with getting them onto the into the sim. Sometimes they're not. Don't see them. That's fine. Not sure why we're climbing so hard. Happens when you take your eyes off for a second. It's very fine movements, and there's a lot of delay in the reaction on this thing. So you make an adjustment and it can take up to 10 seconds before you start to see the changes. Lemon Wolf! Hey, how you doing? We can try to get her back down to about that 1,000-foot mark. And as we come in, so Sarnia, Port Huron is coming up. We got a little town of Lakeport, and then should get down. And of course, we got the river that goes down from here down towards Lake St. Clair. And then from Lake St. Clair, it empties into Lake Erie, the next of the Great Lakes. See the curve at the bottom of the lake there. That's coming in. So the US side is Port Huron, then we're going to cross over the river into Sarnia, and then we'll be heading from there to the airport. Just getting my map set up. So we're over the town of Lakeport now. That cloud layer getting a little bit thicker, but it's above us, so it's not a concern. Kevin's showing off. Be nice if we could open the window. Alright, so you can see the river there, you can see the build-up as we come out of the suburbs and into Port Huron itself. Hitting the suburban malls. It's going to be alles Guten. So once again, the winds are coming out of about 35 to 40 degrees out of the north-northeast. So we're going to approach from the south. There's a couple runways. We're going to avoid those. We're going to be aiming for the ramp area, which is on the south side of the airport. So that's going to be our target. So we're going to start descending down now to about 500 feet. The river here is the border between the US and Canada. In fact, right there would be the bridge that would go between them. Looks like the bridge is gone. But we're going to come around this way. The airport is just over there. So we're going to come down to about 500 feet. We're basically going to fly on the south side of the highway here. I believe this is Highway 402. 401's further south that goes down to Windsor, Detroit. I think this is 402 that heads up here towards Sarnia. Whatever it is, it's a bad highway in the winter. There's been lots of reports of massive drifting happening in an instant, and the military having to go in and helicopter people out. Oh, what are you thinking of getting? I can't remember. I just got mine back on the road. I'm taking it in for a nice cleanup on Thursday, but I got her back and she is running nice. I was actually out in it yesterday. Probably gonna go for a little ride tomorrow as well. So you have to see if it's raining. Alright, we're gonna start slowing down now. I can see the airport lights ahead. We'll pull the power a bit so we don't climb through the roof. That speed's starting to come back. Again, we're gonna be landing on the apron. See the runway there. The apron's on the south side. So we'll come in over the race course here. Speed's below 100 knots now. Trying not to climb. Using the trims. Try not to add too much rudder. Alright, let's get the speed back. See the apron we're going for. There we are, we're coming back, coming down. neutralizing trims. Try to come in over the buildings without hitting them. I mean, this is a huge improvement over most of my helicopter flying. Let's get these guys out with the doors. Launch the buildings. Watch our descent rate. She's going to touch tail first because that's the way she flies. Down into ground effect. Try to keep her motionless. Slowly easing back, lowering her down. And we are on the ground. BMW? Yeah, BMWs are good. I'm always asleep. I'm not going to disturb her. Let me get that locked and we'll get the brake in place. So we're going to drop the back. Let the guys out. We can unfold the ramp at the back. And, didn't want to do that. But we can take a look at what we got inside if I get the view. There we go. There's the Humvee. So is it like an enduro type of bike? Alright, so we're going to switch the load out now. We're going to switch over and we're going to take some pallets. So once again, if we look back, we got some pallets on board. That's what we're going to be taking for the next leg of our trip. And on that point, let me get everything set up for that. So we are here at CYZR and we are going to CNQ3. Make sure that is refreshed. That is good. Let me just change my brief, so we're going for that to CNQ, or not sim brief, but Navigraph, and we are set there. All right, we are ready to go. Sport bike low to the ground. Okay, I've got an Indian, big honkin' Indian touring bike. Alright, so we'll get the sides pulled up, we'll get the rear door brought to level, we'll get the bottom ramp closed up, and we are ready to go. So we're all loaded up here in Sarnia, and we're heading for Welland, Ontario, which is on the Welland Canal, which connects Lake Erie to Lake Ontario for shipping, because obviously you can't go down the falls. It is a bit of a handful, but once you get the trims sorted out, it becomes much easier to fly. Okay, manual brakes. Let's head to our destination. Let me just get this up, and I will go into that mode. All right. Coming up on the tower. There we go. And we're just going to take off into the wind. basically going to turn to an eastward heading. There we go. And away we go. Again, we're going to climb up to about 1,000 feet. That door closed in the back. Yeah, it is. It should be over 1,000. It's 1,854 cc's. It's the size of a car. But I like going long distance touring, so that's what it's built for, and that's what I'll use it for. My plan is to ride out to the Rockies at some point over the next couple years. To ride probably down towards the Sonora deserts in Arizona and New Mexico, stuff like that. Long distance running. That's what it's made for. Alright, there's 500 feet. Climbing nicely. And there's the main highway. We're going to follow it now for a while. It'll take us out towards London. Yeah, I've been riding for a while. I've ridden my old bike, the one I had before this. I've ridden it down to Florida, Key West. I've ridden out to the Rockies. Not through the Rockies, but out to the Rockies and then back through the northern U.S. I've been down to the East Coast on it, my old one. This one I just got when I retired, so it was kind of my retirement present to myself. Haven't done a lot of riding on it. Didn't ride it at all last year due to some personal stuff that was going on with family, but gonna do a little bit more riding this year, a little bit more next year, and then once I get my major trips around the world done that I want to do, I'll be heading off and doing some bike trips over the next few years. See, we're still pretty flat ground out here, farm country. We're flying along nicely here. We get slowly climbing up to 1,000 feet. We'll let her settle in there. There. Oh, there's someone. I am a multiplayer, so you can see somebody's just popped in ahead of us in the Vision Jet. So once again, if you want, oh, we're getting the VOR in. If you want to join us, you are more than welcome to. Northern Europe server. We fly at the same time Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I might be doing the odd Saturday flight still coming up. Depends on my availability. But there'll be kind of last minute things that pop up. But again, I am away a lot from June till beginning of August, so limited live streams, but there are going to be some videos coming out. Alright, so if we can dial that in, that's the heading we want to be going in. And we're 40 miles, 30 miles? What's it say there? 30 miles from the London VOR. So London's a major airport here in the southwestern Ontario. It does do international flights. We get American 737s and stuff coming up. But it's pretty decent airport. Flown in there a number of times. They used to have, well, they might still have a restaurant there with a patio that you can sit outside, listen and watch the jets go. The patio was kind of on the air side, so that was pretty neat. Hang on, I'm just trying to read what you wrote there. No, it takes a bit of time to get into how to do it and stuff, and clutch work. Well, for Europeans, it should be a lot easier because there's a lot more manual cars over there. But getting the feel for the clutch and getting the RPMs and all that stuff, it just takes some practice. When I started, 2 months after buying my first motorcycle, I rode it to Key West, Florida, from the Toronto area. So I did about a 3,500 mile round trip after having my license for a couple months. So that's just me. I was just saying we're now 34 miles away. Wonder if it's picking up a different VOR. Let me do a quick check. On 7.2. No, it should be the same. We'll see if it switches over. Anyway, this road will take us right through the town anyway, more or less, on this heading. Alright, how to get so zoomed in. There we go. That's better. Alright, we're up to 2,000 feet. I see 7,800 out there. Nah, it's all just practice. You just have to know. Mounting, it's just knowing how to play with the weight distribution and how to get on this, your bike and everything like that. For turns, it's just like on a bicycle. But you learn it when you learn to ride, so it all comes. just takes time and experience. Get out and ride around your local area. Don't be afraid of turns. Don't ride beyond your skill level, but ride up to it, and don't take the easy way. Push yourself a little bit. Find the local roads and stuff that are twisty, and get used to the turns and how the bike moves. It's all good. And that's part of the fun. If you can get on a nice piece of road, working the bike side to side as you go up around the corners and everything, that's brilliant. And the thing I love about bikes is in a car you ride in a car, in a bike you ride on it. So you're in a car, you're riding through the environment because you're in a bubble. With a bike, you're riding in the environment. Sorry. you're exposed to the wind, you're exposed to the rain, and riding in rain is not fun. And you're exposed to the temperature and the smells. There's nothing like going past a farm or huge fields that they've just cut of grass and stuff, and you get that fresh cut grass smell. That would be awesome. Same as when you go by a farm and they've got cows or pigs, and that's all you smell, a cow and pig shit. I mean, it's what it is, but you're in the environment, you're part of it. You can feel the wind, you can feel the temperature. It's one of the reasons I like flying open cockpit biplanes. You feel the wind, you feel the temperature, you get a better sense of where you are in the world. Anyway, this is where the highway turns and it heads down to the 401. This is the town of Strathroy. We're going to carry on in this heading though. "22 miles from London, apparently. We were on it. It counts down in that odd fashion instead of counting up, but it's all good. Sounds like a challenge, Lemonwealth. Sounds like a challenge. So this highway heads down that way southeast and goes to the south side of the city of London, Ontario. We're going to keep thumping along this way, and we'll be flying pretty much over the town and past the airport. Kind of maintaining that eastward heading. Now we did have a guest appearance on Friday on the last leg. Wayne showed up in his Spitfire. That was a nice surprise. Little town of Coldstream. I don't think so. But you don't fly helicopters from the, well, most helicopters from the left side. You fly the Bell 47 from the left side. Most helicopters, the pilot sits on the right. Mainly so we can get in and out without having to climb over the collective every time. There's the town of London coming up, and I can see the airport lights. London, Ontario. And we're basically going to maintain this heading. Yeah, there could be. There are a few that are like that. Not sure why the Bell 47 was like that. What their thinking was. Let's check our fuel. 38.54. That's fine. Of course, I'm using track IR to look around in this thing. In Russia, the helicopter flies itself. Yeah. A Vision jet over there. Not sure where that 747 went. Remember taking off out of here, the controller gave me an intersection takeoff. I was in a little Cessna 172. And before I rolled, he said, listen, when you take off, as soon as you are able, make a right-hand turn. You've got a 737 coming up behind you, getting ready to land. I said, okay. Of course, I'd been flying museum airplanes at the air shows and stuff, so I was used to low-level maneuvering and stuff. So about 100 feet, I just like made a left turn, 90-degree left turn, and just kept climbing out. Oh, there's some aircraft coming in. The Sussy Heckler and the Funk. Very nice. It caught my attention though when he said that. I said, okay, let me get out of the way. Hey girl. Almost done. You go lie down. So here's London. You can see downtown there. There's that trim issue hitting again. Now I'm wondering if that is my issue with the yoke coming into play there, and I'm making a trim adjustment and it gets stuck. No, I wasn't too nervous because I was, like I said, I was flying for a museum and we did air shows and stuff, so I was used to doing low-level flying and maneuvering at 100, 200 feet. It wasn't a big deal for me. So I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, it was all visual. I could see what was around and that. There's the airport there. North, south, east, west runway. Main terminal building. Diamond were building their DA. What's the 20s and 22s there for a while. Don't know if they still do. Miles from my destination. There's the other side of London as we're heading back out into farm country here. Interesting thing about out here is a lot of the roads do not run east-west out here or north-south. They're based off the lakes. And they'd run perpendicular off the lake, and the lakes are all various angles, so you get different orientations of the roads out here. Molly's up walking around. I'm gonna run her down to the off leash after this. Let her get some exercise. So that's why we're cutting across the roads here. We are going to be picking up the bottom of Lake Erie at some point as we come in. So we check the weather down in Welland at the moment. We've got some, the clouds have lifted. In 2902, clouds at 5,000 feet. There was some low clouds at 500. It looked like they had some mist or fog or something coming in, but seems to be a little bit better now. And we're just going to keep cutting across the roads here. Little town of Ingersoll coming up. We want to be flying a little bit more this way. I want to try to set my heading indicator just as a reference. Not that it's very visible. In airplanes, generally speaking, yeah. What they usually do is they alternate. Some aircraft are certified for single pilot operations, like some small business jets or private jets. Most commercial aircraft are two pilot operations. And in aircraft, the convention, airplanes, the convention is the pilot sits on the left, and the co-pilot or first officer or whatever you want to call him sits on the right. For helicopters, most helicopters, the pilot sits on the right. Again, it's so they're not climbing over that collective there and smashing themselves on it constantly. And at least for bigger helicopters, the co-pilot would sit on the left side. In some it's a gunner or an observer or something like that. I say for most. I've been in a few that I've had the pilot on that side. I think this is the big Toyota plant, maybe Honda plant. I can't remember. A big car plant anyway here in Ingersoll. The routine for most operations is that you alternate legs. So you have what's called pilot flying and pilot non-flying, or pilot monitoring, if they call it that. So, say you were doing 4 flights for the day. Call it Toronto to Montreal back, and then Toronto to Ottawa and back to Toronto. So on the first flight of the day, the captain, say, would be the pilot flying. He would actually fly the airplane. Watch the tower there. The pilot monitoring would do all the radio work, would be filling in the flight plan with all the fuel burn numbers and all the time on waypoint stuff that they have to do. He'd be monitoring instruments and engines and all that type of stuff. And he'd be monitoring what the pilot is doing to make sure he's doing the correct thing, and would tell him if he wasn't. So they would get to at the end of the first leg, and when they were ready to start the second leg, in this case Montreal back to Toronto, the co-pilot, or the person who was the pilot monitoring last time, would become the pilot flying, and he would do all that, and the captain would be the one doing all the radio work and all that stuff. But overall command and control of the aircraft still belongs to the captain. There's a legal responsibility there as well, and they have absolute say over what happens on the aircraft, and they can also take over at any time. So If something happens and they have an emergency, he can instantly take over, become the pilot flying, and then direct what happens on board the aircraft with in regards to emergency procedures or dealing with stuff or whatever. But in normal operations, they'd be alternating back and forth on each leg. One guy flies, one guy basically does the radios, paperwork, and monitors what's going on. Then they switch for the next one, then switch again, and then switch again. Alright, so we're coming up. There's a little town of Norwich coming up. We might just be able to see Lake Erie off in the distance there. Not 100% sure. And we're 62 miles out. I'm just going to do a quick check for VORs or anything out this way. Not really. So we'll ignore that. So there's the town of Norwich ahead. I'm kind of all over the place here. We'll fly by there. So I've done about 4 actual flights in a CH-47. All of them in the back as cargo, or as troops being moved in them. Town, all construction going on. Got the cranes out. Lots of colorful plants. Spring is here. Looking good. So we got a F-18 out that way. We're going to be flying south of the little town of Scotland, actually. Which is pretty cool. And back over that way is the town of Tilsonburg, which is the home of the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association. Harvard's being World War II trainers. And I'm a member there as well, and have flown in those. Alright, Lemon Wolf, take care. Thanks for dropping by, and good luck with the bike. Let me know when you get it. And put a picture on the Discord. Definitely wants to keep rolling to the left, even though I'm adding in right trim. A good 54 miles to go. At 1,276 feet. Of course, unlike an airplane where it's kind of in balance until you act upon it, so once you get it trimmed out, you can basically take your hands off and it'll more or less stay nicely balanced. Helicopters don't do that. They want to get away from you very quickly, and all the trim is not to hold your heading or your pitch or anything like that. The trim's just there to ease the control stick pressures off you. constantly having to put in, so you're constantly on the trim. And up and down on the collective for your altitude and power. Keeping an eye on our torque and everything. I mean, she's pretty good with the FADEX system, but you've still got to manage your torque to make sure you don't over torque. See a little patch of blue down there. That's Lake Erie. Alright, so as a housekeeping point, there'll be no stream tomorrow. I've got some personal stuff to take care of. We will be back on Friday for the next leg of this trip. There's the little town of Scotland, Ontario. So no stream tomorrow. Thursday is our regular day off, and then we will be back on Friday. Carrying on. Live weather, live time. So as you can see, we got clouds up there. It was foggy here in Toronto this morning. I was wondering what it was going to be like doing this flight this afternoon. Still, when I was outside a couple hours ago, it was still pretty overcast here, up here, but it looks like it's cleared up to the west. Back on track here. We've veered off a little bit. There we go. 45 miles to go. Again, only 2 airports being visited on today's leg. This is our last one coming up now. So we started at, we've used almost, what would that be? 2,200 pounds of fuel. So we're coming up towards half our fuel. So this thing's got some pretty good endurance on it. Only go a few hours. There's Molly starting to bang on things. Coming up to the town of Little Buffalo. You definitely see Lake Erie off to the right. And off at our 10 o'clock, kind of under where that F-18 thing is the city of Hamilton. There's the Hamilton Airport, another major airport outside of Toronto down here in central Ontario. International flights out of there as well, including flights all across Canada. But it is also the home of the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, which has some incredible displays as well as flying aircraft, including a Canso, or PBY in American, flying boat, B-25, Mustang, and the second of only 2 flying Lancaster bombers. And it flies every summer. The shows and other stuff like that. But it also flew over to England a few years ago, and it was flying along with the Battle of Britain Memorial flights, Lancaster. And they did a bunch of shows and stuff out there. Molly's wandering around. That's okay, we're getting close. Only 36 miles to go. You can see Lake Erie coming in there at the bottom as we work our way closer to where it comes to a point. We're going to start getting Lake Ontario coming in, which starts in the Hamilton area, and they are going to start closing in towards each other. And that's where you have the Niagara River, Niagara Falls, and all that stuff, which we will be seeing on the next flight. Getting a little sweaty here. That's the town of Hagersville. We do have some weather off to the northeast there. We should be able to come in right around the bottom edge of that weather system. It was reporting 5,000 foot ceilings. Let's see if that holds. A lot of these little towns out here you'll also find have airfields or had airfields. And you can tell that there were old World War II training airfields, but the fact that they're runways, 3 runways in a triangle. And a lot of them were used for basic elementary training, using Tiger Moths or the Canadian aircraft that they used, the Fleet Finch. And some of the bigger ones like Tilsonburg, they used the Harvards and stuff as advanced training bases. But a lot of these small towns out here had them, and some of them still do. Some of them have been converted over or completely gone now, but there are still a few around that you can find having airports. Goderich has one. I think Hagersville, Tilsonburg, Dunsville, which we're coming up towards, still has it. So they're still kicking around, these old World War II training fields. Try to get her back down to 1,000 feet now that we're coming up on this cloud layer. Keep veering off slightly to the right, so we'll adjust for that. Feet. Coming down to 1,000 feet above the ground. Nice. C-172 out there. Little Cessna. So, quick look at the airport out at Welland. It is, it's one of those old training fields. We're going to be landing on the south side. said they got 2 paved runways and a grass runway now. But, we're going to land on the south side. The 2 paved ones were like the up and down of the A of the grass field is like the base of the pyramid or base of the triangle. Alright, 24 miles to go. I'm going to try to keep down at around 1,000 feet. Run into a little bit more weather than I thought we would. And we've just lost the London VOR. Again, that's more of a fact that we're down low than we're out of range. It is a high power one, so usually do pretty good. Hamilton is right off our left side in the start of Lake Ontario. Like I said, they kind of come together down here in the Niagara region. You got the Welland Canal first. That's the man-made canal built to move shipping with the locks. And then beyond that, you've got the Niagara River with Niagara Falls. And as mentioned, we'll be seeing that on the next one. Alright, keeping her down 1,000 to 1,200 foot best we can. She does get away from you as you look around, and of course I'm monitoring the stream and checking charts and doing all that stuff, so my altitude is up and down a little bit. Dunville's off that way along the river there, emptying down into the lake. And the Welland Airport is just before the town of Welland. And we are kind of heading directly to it now. Miles out. Guys can start enjoying the view out the back. Around 1,000 feet. Somebody in the hallway, and Molly's decided to go into guard dog mode. Here, girl, I'll be with you in a minute. I'll be with you in a minute. Good girl. Come in under the clouds here. (1,066 feet). Keep that 150 knots. 13 miles out. For the airfield. pretty much off our nose. As soon as I said that, Molly sticks her wet nose on my leg. Stuttering. I think that's my Niagara Falls scenery loading in. I know you're there. Almost done. 10 miles. Slowly come down to 500 feet. Again, flat terrain, so I'm not expecting any major changes happening rapidly in terrain. I see the airport ahead. Down to 500 feet. Cross a pair of roads and then a railway track and a creek which is coming up. I'm seeing buildings. It looks like a runway. So slowing her down. There's the airport light coming in. And again, the landing area will be south of the grass field. Light is. See the hangar there. Not land on the pillar or on the light. We'll put her down here beside the truck. here. And of course he's going to drive right at me. Try to neutralize our drift. Set her down. And she's going to contact tail first. There she is. And we are down. Let the guys get out. In the back. Alright, collective is all the way down. We've made it to Welland. After lane check, flight controls are neutralized. Control trim switch to ground. I've never found where that switch is. Good, and we can shut her down now. So flight controls are neutral. Parking brake lever is set. Heater switch, we never turned it on. That is fine. AFCS switch, it's right here. Will go off. APU will come on. APU is up. APU generator is now on. Engine generators for 1 and 2 are now off. Engine control levers will both go to ground. Cross feed will come off. All fuel pumps are now off. EPIS fans and doors are closed. FADEC backup power switch is off. APU generator will now come off. APU will go off. Lights will stay where they are. Battery will come off. And that is it. The aircraft is shut down, and now it's just got to wait for the rotors to stop spinning. Thanks for coming along, everybody. We will be back on Friday for the next leg of our tour of the Great Lakes. Hope to see you there, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.